Hi everyone, I hope everybody is well. We built this on Facebook Live and I did promise I will run through how to recreate this. However, I will be doing a slightly different design. I'm going to do a smaller one. However, all the sizes I will go through and explain how we put these together. So we've done two medium ones. I've also made a larger one to go on the top of my Christmas tree, and I will be extending this little drip just a run around my branches. So it all works on the same basis, which you're going to see next. This is a no-sew, however, you can obviously use your sewing machine as well if you want to. So let's get started. Products you will need for this bake: any fabric. Some fabric does fray more than others. This is just sort of lining fabric. This was £3 a metre from a shop called Boys. I've got it in baby pink and also in the darker pink. You can also use felt or sort of crushed velvet. This obviously doesn't fray, so it's a lot easier to glue together. You will also need some trims. This is sort of a zigzag ribbons. Gingham ribbon, whatever you have chosen for your theme. You will also need some old piping tips. If you don't have any piping tips, you can use some shiny silver cardstock to create your piping tip. For the drip, you will need some burlap wool. This is 2.5 centimetres. If you search burlap wool, obviously it comes in different depths. The ones I've used for my medium and my large is 2.5 centimetres. You will also need some greaseproof paper or some cardstock, and your glue gun. So first I'm going to run through the template. This makes this size. However, I'm going to make some smaller ones, but I do need just to cover how to get the size if you are making the larger ones. So the first thing you will need to do is grab a piping bag and just cut down the edge, open it out. This is now going to give you a triangle. You're going to use this triangle as a guide. So if you're wanting your piping bags the same size as a piping bag, just make sure you give yourself a little lip around the edge for sewing or to use your glue gun. If you want them slightly bigger, get yourself some greaseproof paper as a template, or some cardboard like I have. Just place this on the top and then just make your template bigger. So I'm just going to measure this because the cardboard underneath creates this size. Just to give you a rough idea, it's approximately 24 centimetres in the middle by around 37 centimetres in height. So as long as you've got your plastic casing and you pop that either onto your greaseproof paper for your template or your cardstock or cardboard, you can make it bigger just by using that template going all the way around. You will then need to cut out your template. That is now going to give you the size of your piping bag. You can then spread out your chosen fabric. You can either make a fold in your fabric, so you've just got one layer. I'm just going to show you quickly because that's it. I'm going to work on something a little bit smaller. Pop that to the edge, trim around, and then open everything out, and then your fabric will sit along your template. So this is how small I'm going to make mine. Obviously your triangle is going to be bigger. Everything is going to build exactly the same. So I've cut out a mini template. Let me just measure this. So I've made this 14.5 approximately in length by around 10 centimetres. Now you can add a trim around the top if you want to, just with some fabrics or some zigzags. Let me just grab a random one and run that around the top. So this is the part where it will show. I do like the jagged edge on mine, so I won't be trimming it, but just in case you want to, you can use some fabric glue. It's going to be a lot easier for you to use fabric glue rather than your glue gun, because obviously your trim is quite thin and your glue might spill out the ends. So that is completely up to you. Obviously, if you are sewing these, you will need to put that edge on now before we start gluing it together. So if you've put your trim on, what you will need to do is make sure that your trim is on the inner part. We're going to fold this in half, and again you can run your sewing machine just along this edge here. I will be using my glue gun. You can obviously use your fabric glue as well. Just going to take a little bit longer to dry. That is completely up to you, but I will be using my glue gun for this part. I have now run my glue right the way down my edge, lined everything up, and then pop that into place. If you have got a bit of a jagged edge, you know, where you've cut it on your template, just run your scissors just up that edge there, just to straighten everything out. Next, we're going to turn this inside out. Obviously, if you are making the larger size, it won't be as fiddly. So turn it inside out and just get yourself a little stick just to poke out the bottom. This is the one I've just grabbed. So don't worry too much about getting the point to the end, because we do cut it off. But let's say this is going to be quite a small one, because I am going to build this into a little display. So just keep gently just pushing it to the end. Let's say you don't have to turn it all the way along. And then just make sure that your back seam has gone to the back. Don't worry if this is not inlined either. We do trim this off at the end. Next, you will need to decide on a piping tip. Obviously, I am working on a smaller bag, so these are the ones that I will never use. This is a tiny one. This one was just the rounded one, and then on the larger one, again, a piping tip that is going to be far too big for any of my bakes. If you don't have any spare piping tips, just like we mentioned in the first step, you can get some shiny cardstock like this. You can just cut a little strip and then just roll it round to form a little tube, and then sellotape it to the back. I wouldn't use glue gun on this. It really shows. So I would just use some sellotape or some double-sided tape, just by, like I say, cutting a little square, rolling it around the end of a paintbrush just to get the shape. You will see once you get it going, just to form the little hole at the bottom. Now you have chosen the size, whether you've made it, grabbed it out of your crafting box or ordered some. We now need to pop this inside our little bag. So this works on the same if we was just to work on a normal piping bag. We need to trim off just the bottom part here. Don't go too far up, otherwise your piping tip is going to come straight out. So the best tip I can give you is just to trim off a small piece first, pop in your tip. If it just pokes out the end, just trim a little bit more as you go. So you have now measured your piping tip. And let's say I haven't gone too far up. Excuse my nails, by the way. I've chipped loads of these off tonight filming this tutorial. Just enough, just so it grabs the end. And don't worry about gluing it in your tip. The reason why I'm not going to glue this in, one, because you're going to get bumps around here if you use your glue gun. Two, if you was to pop your tip inside your bag, even if you fold it down, you're going to get glue on the inner part. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. So once you get your filler inside, this will compact and it will not come out. You just need to make sure that this lip here with your fabric is long enough for it not to pop out. If you've cut it far too big, again, don't panic. You can run your tacky glue or your fabric glue, no glue guns, just around your tip, fold down your bag and just drop it in and then squeeze in your glue. But if you've gone a good, half an inch around, this will not move once you get your filler into your piping bag. Now is the time to add your wool. This is 1/2 centimetre, so it's still classed as burnout wool, as you can see how thin it is, because I am working on such a small tip. However, the ones in the larger tips, if you have done your triangles bigger, you're going to need 2.5 centimetres of burnout wool. If you've already glued your piping tip into your bag, you will just need to take a skewer or a little stick and just start pushing this inside, just so it comes out the end. Because I haven't glued mine, I'm just going to put my little tip out. I will be using quite a bit of this to create the cupcake. You don't have to do loads to create your cupcake either, just enough just for it to sort of blend out. If you are doing the larger ones, it's completely up to you what size. So I've just got quite a long string. I'm just going to trim that off at the end. And then use my glue gun, if I can grab my scissors. So just trim that off there. And then I'm just going to use my glue gun just inside my little tip and glue that into place. I am now going to drop this inside my piping bag. So it will look something like this. And now you can fill it out if you are making this size. Use a tie wrap on the top. Just use some pillow stuffing. And then obviously you can decorate. I am now going to add a base to mine and strengthen this up, because I do want to make this into a little display. So we're going to do that next. So I'm going to use some polystyrene. This comes in a packing box. You can obviously use cardboard, a little mini cake stand. Whatever you've got, you can use. For my base, I'm going to use a cupcake. This is a pink muffin case. And I'm just going to use my glue gun and just attach it to the bottom of my polystyrene. I have left a little gap here because I do want to make a little sign. Maybe use some polyfiller and paint it. I'm not quite sure. I am making this up as we go along. Normally I put weights inside this. I don't think I'm going to need it. So what I'm going to do next is just use some cardboard just on the inner part of here, just to bring it up slightly so I can put my polyball on the top. So this is what I mean by some rolled up cardboard. What you're aiming for is just for it to naturally fold inside. You don't have to glue it around the edge. You will lose the shape of your cupcake. Just make sure it sits just below that rim. Use your glue gun and just attach that into the bottom. Once that is glued into place, you will need a 6cm poly ball cut in half. You are then going to use your glue gun around the rim and just pop that on the top of your cupcake. As you can see, that cardboard lifts up your half poly ball. Next, we're going to go back to our piping bag, which we built earlier. And I'm going to take some quite thick wire, so it's still bendable. It's about 3mm, I think, 2mm, 3mm, something like that. And I'm going to thread this down my piping bag. And my aim is to get this wire into the middle of my ball. I'm not going to glue it just yet, so I'm just going to push that there. Drop down my piping bag. That is going to give me the size that I need. Let me just lift you up. And I'm just going to snip this off here with my wire cutters. So it might look a little bit odd. I've just snipped my wire down because obviously we need to gather up this bag, which is going to be the same method that you're going to need for this next step. So I've just popped it inside here. I've got this extra piece to go along my cupcake. And now I'm just going to give myself a little lip here with the wire. Take my glue gun and I'm just going to pop my glue gun underneath my tip and onto my poly ball. So just to show you, the wire has come out of here, hit my poly ball. If you haven't glued in your little casing, it will be loose until we get it filled and tied, so don't worry about that. And I've just wrapped all my little burnout wool around the edge, just so it looks like it's piping the top of a cake. So next, what I need to do before I fill out the poly ball is just to fill the inner part of my casing. It's going to be exactly the same method if you have used a larger one and not doing this display. So just make sure your join is to the back. So this is the front of my display. Works the same method as this one as well. Just make sure your join is to the back, because once you tie it, you don't want your join at the side or to the front. And then just get yourself some stuffing. If you've got an old pillow, it's the cheapest method. If not, you can grab yourself some stuffing or some old cobwebs as well. If you have done a Halloween party and got loads of cobwebs, you will now need just to start popping this inside your bag, and then again just using a stick just to form the shape, poking that right inside. So I'm just going to work all the way up. Just give yourself a little gap at the top, just so when we tie it together, it all forms the shape. Once you have worked all the way up and left yourself a little gap, I am going to use a tie wrap. You can get these in clear or white. I've only got black. Just make sure your teeth are on the inner part of your tie wrap. Just link this just so it catches the first part of your teeth. And then what you're going to do is just gather the top piece, pop your tie wrap over the top. You can obviously use pipe cleaners as well for this. And then you need to make sure that everything is straight. So keep your tie wrap loose. Adjust everything, pull it up so this isn't sagging at the bottom. Once you are happy, pull it a little bit tighter. So we're not going too tight to start with. Pull it down onto your piping bag. Again, same method with the top piece of this one. And then once you are happy, you need to pull this tight. Once you have pulled everything tight, just snip it off with some wire cutters. Bend it into shape. Pull out your little frill at the top. You can obviously squeeze this. You know when we mentioned earlier about it not being equal. So just give it a squeeze between your fingers and thumb. And then just trim off the excess. There is a wire going right the way through here, which you won't get obviously in your bigger bags. Bend that to shape. And now what I'm going to do, rather than making this video far too long, is that I'm going to use the rest of my wool, using my glue gun, wrap it right the way around my cupcake. I am then going to run a tiny little trim just around this part here, and then I'll be back to add a bow. I have now added my trim to the top and to the bottom and gone right the way around with my wool as well. So the trim, you don't need to run your glue gun or tacky glue or fabric glue right the way around. Just add it to the back. I'm going to show you on this part. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit easier for me to show you. Just lightly pull your ribbon all the way around. So don't pull it too tight, otherwise you'll get sort of a wrinkled effect. And then just finish the glue off at the back. So there's only first bit of glue when you start your ribbon. The last bit of glue is at the back as well. That way you can move this up and down. And then you can also add little bits and pieces, especially if you're using these, you know, for your Christmas tree this year and next year. You might want to change the little design underneath. So just keep your ribbon loose. Like I say, you've got a lot more control when you add it to the bottom of your tip, because it's quite sturdy. You know, you can pull it tight again, blob a glue gun on the back, pull it quite tight because we are not working on this foam, and then just end again with the bottom with your glue. So that is what I've done so far with my trim. Now what I need to do next is just to add a little. So I've just added my little bow to the top. I ended up using the pink gingham ribbon, which is this one. To tie it, you just need to make a loop. Gather this part into the middle. And then taking some craft wire, you're just going to twist that to the back, and then obviously you can trim off your tails. There is a bow tutorial on my TikTok, for what I remember. It's quite far further down. I am under the same Crafted Delights with a 0 on TikTok as well, if you want it a little bit more in depth than what I have just showed you. So this is looking absolutely adorable. So next what I want to do is I'm just going to build my little stand. These are the little prints I've still got left from the little kit. I've used the rest on my other bags and trimmed those. So these are stickers. And I've also got a cardstock as well. I'm thinking to pop in a lollipop into my polystyrene. So I'll just roughly show you. just get the size, so just have a play about, depending on whether you're using these signs or not. I'm going to peel these off because they are stickers, and stick that onto some white cardstock. That way I can, you know, get rid of the yellow part at the back. And I'm just going to trim down my stick. As you can see, it's a little bit too high. And just have a play about with that. Then I'm going to stick these onto my lollipop, decide which ones I'm going to use, and then I'll show you when I've done that. So this is what I have decided on mine. I've made it a little bit shorter. I didn't want it too tall. And I've just popped that inside my polystyrene and just run some glue gun right the way around as well, just to support that. I am going to be covering this with clay, so obviously everything will blend in if you have got any glue at the bottom. So you can obviously use polyfiller if you want to. I will be going onto the Bose foam clay, so I'll just show you the one that I use. I purchased mine on Amazon. It is Bose foam clay and it's in white. You can also get the Bose in a bucket as well if you are making quite a lot. You do get quite a lot of bakes out of one bag. I'm now going to coat all my base just with some clear PVA glue. And then I'm going to take my white Bose foam clay and just start pressing it with my fingers to cover all my base. So all my clay is now in place. And I'm just starting to rough all the edges up just with the end of a paintbrush or a skewer. I've also put it on some cardstock. Anything will do, even some greaseproof paper. It just helps you spin it around rather than trying to pick it up while everything is drying. So just go in with your clay and just start pulling out the edges just to give it more of an icing. You might have gone in with your lightweight polyfiller and piped all the way around. I just think the clay is going to be a lot easier for me to show you the finished result, because obviously your polyfiller does take a good 3 to 4 days to dry, whereas your clay is only 24 to 48 hours. So I've stuck with clay for mine. I am going to add a few little charms inside this bit as well. If you've gone over, you can just pick it up. Take your scissors and obviously just trim around the edge, just with some normal scissors. So I'm going to find some charms. I'm going to add a few more little bits and pieces to the bottom. I am then going to coat everything all along the bottom, my clay, with some clear PVA glue. So it's the same glue that I used to add my clay. And I'm going to sprinkle everything with the iridescent flakes. So I'm just going to pick out my charms and then I'll be back to show you the finished result. I am now back with the finished result. Obviously everything is drying. Let me see if I can pick it up for you. So if you're adding charms, you can just push these straight into your clay. If your clay has gone a little bit dry, you can just add some stronger tacky glue. I'm going to show you in a second. So everything I've just coated in PVA glue. The ribbon, again, I used some tacky glue and gone all the way around, just trimming that. So you will need a stronger tacky glue to attach anything a little bit more heavier. So this is the tacky glue I used, which was Art Studio for 99p. Just tap my brush just around and push my ribbon into place. If you're wanting to layer up your charms, you are best using your glue gun or your stronger tacky glue as well. It just takes a little bit longer to dry. So I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial and you give it all a go, and I will see you all soon. Goodbye everybody.